The church hall smelled of polished wood and lukewarm tea. I remember the murmur of voices, restless feet scuffing onto the chipped linoleum, and the echo of laughter carrying from the back pews. The walls always seemed to lean in on you in that place, lined with faded bulletin boards and yellowed flyers for old bake sales. I was 17, and the vicar had called everyone together for the town's annual youth celebration. My mum had squeezed my arm extra tight that morning, whispering how proud she was. My father stood behind us, stone-faced, already chewing over the possible disappointments the day would hold. That year, they'd asked each of us to share our ambitions. The idea was that we'd all inspire one another, but I saw right through it. Half the elders only came to confirm what they already believed about us. The world was a set of narrow lanes to them, shop fronts, trades, a pub on Friday, church on Sunday, nothing further east than Stratford or west than Ealing. I'd been working on my little robot for months. It could barely roll straight across the kitchen liner without veering into a chair leg, but when it did, my heart nearly jumped from my chest. I wasn't good at many things, but I was good at this. I had plans. The kind that would flood my imagination as I pressed stray bits of circuit board into tinfoil limbs, thinking maybe I'd build something that could help the world. When it was my turn, I stood and unfolded my plan in trembling hands. My voice shook. I want to be a robotics engineer. I want to build things that can help people walk again or make life easier. Maybe one day, I hesitated, looking at the shiny tops of old Mr. Tackis's head. Maybe I'll design something that no one's seen before. Silence, not the respectful kind, but the kind that lets you know you've misjudged the room badly. Somewhere at the back, someone snorted. It was Michael, always quick with an insult, his laugh sharp and familiar. "Robotics engineer," he called, voice bouncing off the limestone pillars. "What's next, mate? Spaceships in Stratford." A ripple of laughter. A few people tried to hush him, but the damage was done. The room was grinning and squirming. Mr. Hanley, who ran the garage and moonlighted as the church handyman, sucked his teeth. "Best stick to something sensible, love. All that robot stuff, that's for the telly. You seen anyone round here with your sort of job?" My cheeks were burning like I'd come in with no clothes on. My mother wouldn't meet my eyes. Dad folded his arms, and for the first time ever I could feel shame pulsing off his skin. Nobody stood up for me, not the teachers, not even the vicar. Over the coming weeks the jokes kept rolling. They'd see me outside the library with my second-hand electronics and call me Tin Man or leave crude sketches of boxy robots in my locker. Even at home, things soured. At dinner, my father would ask about my little toys in a way that made the air frostier than the potatoes. My mother just prayed and watched, torn between loyalty and fear. Anger swept in first, old, familiar, hot. I wanted to storm out of every room, slam every door, shout them all down. But underneath, quietly, another feeling started building, like a bed of cold water after the flames had gone. Serenity, I guess. I held onto my ambition in private now. The dream became a vow, burning silently behind my ribs. If nobody here saw any sense in it, maybe one day I'd prove it to them. I pushed through sixth form alone, chewing over every page of complex maths textbooks and scrolling through open online courses on my battered laptop. Nights grew long and endless, blue light and circuit diagrams, all the while the city outside just kept turning. People said I was wasting my time, and sometimes I half believed them, but I didn't stop. By the time I scraped into university, I was already different, a little harder, a little less furious, desperate to make memory a liar. I took extra shifts at a cafe and worked in the labs through the holidays, building cheap models to teach myself more. I watched London outside those glass doors, buses and walkers, scaffolding, progress moving at its slow march, and I pictured my robots joining the thrum one day. My father would call now and then, always awkward, barely hiding his worry behind questions about my grades. My mother sent care packages full of biscuits and knitted socks, sometimes with notes, "Your dreams aren't silly." Just big, I survived on those words. University passed me by in a blur. On the side, I entered design competitions, won some, lost more. I ate more beans on toast than anyone should, and for months at a time, I didn't see my old neighborhood at all. Relationships came and went like passing trains. I was too obsessed, too absent. After I graduated, I was offered a job at a little robotics startup housed in a drafty warehouse in Clapton. The others were as hungry as I was. We worked into the early mornings, soldering wires, tearing out old code, living on bad curry and cheap lager. There's a thrill in that kind of struggle, the sense that if you just keep moving, you'll outrun all the laughs behind you. We spun ideas, failed, spun again, but after 2 years, our first real project landed. A charity funded us to develop a lightweight robotic exoskeleton for kids recovering from spinal injuries. Something that could slip under uniforms, help weak limbs move just right, let them walk a little further. It wasn't science fiction, it was now. I threw myself in, sketching, building, debugging through the night, losing count of how many times I crashed on the office floor. There were moments of doubt, of course. Machines have a habit of failing at the worst possible moment, and once, at a crucial demo, the suit collapsed with a piercing shriek. I wanted the ground to swallow me. I thought of the church hall for the first time in ages, but we fixed the floor, tested again. One day it just worked. A small boy in a blue blazer stood up, grinning, taking 3 steps where before he would have managed none. His mum wept into her hands. In that moment, serenity caught up with anger. I'd made something real. News spread. Our firm secured more contracts, schools, NHS partners, stateside investors. We grew. I rose through the ranks, started running teams. My name began to show up in articles, the odd magazine. I had more money now, but I still caught the bus and ate beans on toast. Comfort never quite fitted the shape of my heart. But every victory was measured against a silent scale. Each time someone said, "That's extraordinary," I heard Michael's laughter, felt my father's disappointment like an old bruise. The wound shrunk but never quite healed. 10 years on, the letter found me, an invitation back to the old church hall. They were celebrating the community's centenary and wanted former locals to come back to speak to the next generation. Surely the irony wasn't lost on the vicar this time. In the world's clumsiest call my mother passed on that dad was hoping I'd say yes. London had changed in my absence, or maybe it was me who changed. As the train rumbled towards Stratford, I watched estates and gleaming office towers flick past. Anxiety pooled in my chest. Serenity now felt more learned than innate, a layer I'd built to keep anger from eating me alive. I checked my phone, which wouldn't stop buzzing with work group chats and project updates. This was a tiny matter compared to what I usually handled, but my hands were colder than usual as I stepped through the old neighborhood, shoes crunching on autumn leaves, years telescoping all at once so I was 17 again. The church hall was just the same dim halogen lights, same wooden stage, same stubborn queue for tea. Mrs. Hanley ran the kitchen table, face lined deeper but smile just as pinched. She gave me a look I couldn't read, pity, respect, regret, hard to say. Inside, the seats filled up with familiar faces, Michael among them, his hair receding, his eyes cocky as ever. My father wore his best unused suit. My mother sat beside him, gripping her handbag with white knuckles. They wanted updates, they wanted proof. The projector fizzed and spat static as I was introduced. I stood under that hard, yellow-tinged light, clutching my battered laptop. My palms were sweating, but I kept my voice level. I described the journey, broken robots, cold nights, all the rejections. Out in the seats, the old crowd shifted restlessly, some smirking, others watching, empty-mouthed. Then I showed them. I played a video. A teenage girl in a hospital gown, metal struts hugging her legs like exoskeleton bones, a gentle beep and she rose. She took her first steps across the room. Her physio wept into his elbow. The camera swept to a logo, our firm's. I switched scenes, children walking, arms up, laughter bubbling, a grown man with a spinal injury shaking my hand. And then a line of signatures, government contracts, NHS commendations, magazine covers, the charity's award. Stillness. I waited. Michael said nothing. Mr. Hanley eyed the floor, lips moving silently. My father blinked, mouth twitching like he wanted to say something, then stopped himself. My mother started crying quietly, the way only mothers can when the world slides back into place. "Is that all true?" Mrs. Hanley asked, voice so small I barely heard it. I nodded. "Every part of it. We've helped 100 kids walk again. We're working on more." For a long moment, anger and serenity thrashed inside me. I thought I'd come for vengeance, the urge to say "I told you so," to milk their regret, to bask, but what I felt more than anything was exhaustion. The space between us was full of old wounds now stretched thin. I closed my laptop. "I didn't come to prove anyone wrong, I just wanted you to see what's possible, even if it looks ridiculous." Someone at the back started clapping, slow, uncertain, then others joined in, until the room was echoing with a standing ovation. Michael didn't clap, he just folded his arms and stared, face unreadable. His silence was the best apology I'd ever get. Afterwards they formed a queue, teachers, parents, even old kids in from university. They asked questions about the machines, about programming, about how London felt. Some apologized for the past, others rabbiting about their own ideas now, voices brimming with newfound possibility. My father came up last, eyes glossy behind his glasses. "I'm sorry I doubted you, son." "I know," I said. We hugged, brief but real. My mother clung to my arm, sobbing and smiling. "I always knew." They asked me to stay to attend a dinner to share in their reawakened pride. I stayed, laughing with old friends, letting the ocean between anger and serenity finally settle. That night, I walked back through the quiet streets. The houses folded in on themselves, windows soft with lamplight, old trees lined the pavement, sturdy in their age. For the first time in years, I looked back with no bitterness. My return wasn't about showing them what they'd missed, it was about closing a loop, healing a bruise. The proof was there in metal and circuitry and tears shed in hospital rooms, but most of all in the knowledge that a ridiculous dream, nursed through anger and solitude, could reach back and lift the world around it. I paused under the yellow glow of a street lamp, breathing in London's sharp, bright air. Everything was the same and everything was new. I had come home not as the Tin Man, not as the outcast or joke, but as someone who could change things even here. And that was enough.